All right, let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking Anthropic's most dramatic and honestly most powerful release to date, Claude Mythos 5 and Fable 5. We're looking at an absolute turning point in artificial intelligence. This is a release that literally caused governments and global financial institutions to slam on the emergency brakes. But, out of all that sheer chaos emerged two distinct models that are completely reshaping how we think about agentic AI workflows and system security. We've got a really fascinating roadmap for this explainer today. First up, the Mythos leak and panic. Then, a tale of two models, followed by breaking the benchmarks. After that, we'll look at Fable 5 under the hood, and finally, real-world Fable testing. Let's do this! Okay, Section 1. The Mythos leak in panic. Let's look at the incredibly chaotic history here. The sheer roller coaster of this release is pretty wild when you map it out. Back on March 26, 2026, the very existence of Claude Mythos was accidentally leaked through some draft blog posts. Anthropic acknowledged it, but they immediately warned that it posed severe cybersecurity risks. So on April 7th, they attempted a highly controlled release via a trusted consortium called Project Glasswing. Well, that same day, unauthorized users somehow gained access through a private Discord channel. This, as you can imagine, triggered massive national security concerns, ultimately leading the U.S. government to completely ban non-U.S. national access by June 12th. It actually wasn't until just a few days ago, on July 1st, that those restrictions were finally lifted and access was restored. And the global panic that timeline triggered? Absolutely unprecedented. We saw the highest levels of global finance instantly scramble to understand what this model meant for cybersecurity. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Fed Chair Jerome Powell immediately convened financial executives. Similar emergency meetings basically erupted at the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, Japan's Financial Services Agency, and India's Ministry of Finance. It was a global alarm bell. Major banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Bank of America, they were all testing its capabilities right out of the gate. Meanwhile, leaders like ECB President Christine Lagarde and Canada's AI Minister Evan Solomon were publicly praising Anthropic for trying to lock the model down in the first place. Now, you might be wondering, why did everyone panic? Why were central banks holding emergency meetings over a language model? Well, 271. That number right there is your answer. In just 2 weeks after the limited release, Mozilla used the Mythos preview model to find and patch exactly 271 security vulnerabilities in the Firefox browser. That is staggering. And it goes deeper than just software. Researchers proved the model could find exploits in cutting-edge hardware, too. In May, researchers at Califio announced they successfully used Mythos to create a memory corruption exploit affecting Apple M5 chips. Anthropic actually admitted themselves that during testing, the model found vulnerabilities in every major operating system and every major web browser. This definitely wasn't just a chatbot anymore. In the wrong hands, it was essentially an autonomous cyberweapon. Which brings us to Section 2, a tale of two models. Let's look at how they pivoted their strategy. To mitigate this massive risk, Anthropic realized they couldn't just unleash Mythos directly to the public. So they built a bifurcated AI ecosystem. First, they created Fable 5. Fable 5 is publicly available and gives everyday users incredible reasoning power, but it is heavily restricted. It's wrapped in strict safety classifiers protecting against cybersecurity and biology threats. If a query gets flagged, it safely routes you back to the older Opus 4.8 model. Mythos 5, on the flip side, has absolutely zero safety classifiers. It offers completely unrestricted power, but it is strictly locked down to vetted institutions and trusted partners through Project Glasswing. But here is the kicker. Underneath those safety rails, both models share the exact same monstrous specifications and pricing. Both of them boast a massive 1 million token context window, and they're capable of generating up to 128,000 output tokens in a single request. Think about that volume for a second. Plus, adaptive thinking is permanently enabled on both. For the developers out there, they're priced at $10 per million input tokens and $50 per million output tokens. But wait, Anthropic's prompt caching actually gives you a massive 90% discount on those input tokens. So whether it's Fable or Mythos, these models are deliberately built for extremely long-horizon agentic workflows. Moving on to Section 3, breaking the benchmarks. How does this AI handle complex problem-solving? Let's look at the UK AI Security Institute's highly rigorous cyber range tests. Anthropic absolutely dominated the board here. Claude Mythos completely swept the rankings, easily taking the #1 spot. But what's really interesting is that Anthropic's older model, Opus 4.6, took second place. It effectively beat out the latest GPT models, with GPT 5.4 and GPT 5.3 codecs tying for third. It's a really striking picture of exactly where the frontier of AI problem-solving currently sits. So you have to understand, these models aren't optimized for, writing a quick email or having a casual chat. Their advantage actually grows as the tasks become more complex. They absolutely excel at code-base-wide migrations, autonomous software engineering, and maintaining intense reasoning across lengthy, multi-step workflows. Whether you're parsing dense financial documents or diving into massive pools of genomic data, they stay hyper-focused and on task over vast context windows. All right, Section 4, Fable 5 Under the Hood. Let's talk API and architecture. Because Fable 5 has such incredibly heavy safeguards, Anthropic handles rejections in a really unique way. You aren't just hit with a standard error code when the model refuses your prompt. Instead, you get a clean HTTP 200 success response. The response simply contains a stop reason labeled refusal, along with data identifying exactly which safety classifier you tripped. And when that refusal happens, obviously you don't want your app to just break, right? So you have 3 clear fallback options to seamlessly switch to another model, like Opus. You can handle it server-side by simply passing a fallbacks parameter. You can handle it client-side using SDK middleware, or you can go in and manually build a custom retry yourself. And what is incredibly smart here is how they handle the billing. Anthropic provides a fallback credit that refunds the prompt cash cost of switching. That ensures you aren't getting double charged just because Fable 5 decided to refuse a prompt. Oh, and keep this in mind. While Fable 5 is incredibly capable, Anthropic is definitely hiding some of the magic. Adaptive thinking is the only mode. It is always on. But you will never actually see the model's raw chain of thought in the API. You literally have to set the display to either summarized or omitted. The raw reasoning process, that is kept entirely behind the curtain. Finally, Section 5, Real-World Fable Testing. Let's see Fable 5 in action. Analytics Vidya did some testing that perfectly illustrates the sheer visual understanding of Fable 5. In their first test, the reviewers fed Fable 5 a single, highly complex screenshot of the Netflix New and Popular page. They asked it to recreate the whole thing using pure HTML and CSS, no frameworks. The result? The model perfectly parsed the fixed navigation bars and horizontal scrolling carousels. But even more impressively, it didn't just blindly copy pixels, it actually recognized repeating UI patterns, creating scalable, reusable code for the movie cards, exactly like a senior front-end developer would do. But this second test, this is where it gets truly mind-bending. They gave it a rough, hand-drawn wireframe sketch of a dashboard. Fable 5 didn't just digitize the drawing, it interpreted the human intent behind it. It took that raw, messy sketch and built a modern React and Tailwind CSS application from scratch. It independently inferred the missing color palettes, chose professional typography, and even generated fully functional KPI analytics cards and sidebar navigation. It essentially acted as both your UI designer and your full-stack developer, all from a single prompt. So, as we wrap up this explainer, we can clearly see that both Fable 5 and Mythos 5 represent a massive leap forward in reasoning, vision, and long context capabilities. But the specific way Anthropic chose to release them leaves us with a profound question to ponder. Does bifurcating the world's most capable AI into a safe public tier and a powerful trusted-only tier actually safeguard our future cybersecurity? Or does it inadvertently create a dangerous technological hierarchy where only a select privileged few hold the keys to the true frontier of artificial intelligence? It's a precedent-setting strategy for sure, and its ripple effects are going to be felt across the tech industry for years to come.